everyone. Welcome to the ATYL live stream on a Wednesday night. I'm your host, Taylor Kitchen. You all know me, though, and you also know Dom Joseph and Adam Lucas. We've got a bit to talk about today, more so like experience and opinion based. So this is why on the promo post for this live, I said you have your opinions, bring them, because this will be very opinion based. But good to see you all as you roll in. Gentlemen, welcome.
Good evening.
Hello. Still getting my hearing back.
Yeah, I was gonna say I underestimated the amount of hearing loss that would happen this weekend, to be honest with you guys, but that's okay. It was fun.
You know what? It really wasn't the hearing for me as much as my sense of smell.
Yeah. Let's just dive right into it. So I guess want to preface here with this video, and then we'll talk about the experience. So we'll play the video, and then we'll go from there. It was the craziest experience. So that was our intro to NHRA, essentially. Was baptism by Nitro. I turned down the audio on that clip so your guys' ears would not be as deafened as ours were. But I guess, Adam, I think you had the biggest reaction out of all of us visually in that clip. Talk about the experience this weekend.
From my head to my toes, everything shook. The whiskers on my face shook. The hair on my head shook. My toenails, my fingernails, everything shook. That is some raw horsepower, and just that was the best way to get basically baptized by Nitro. First time being at a drag race of any kind. That's the way to have it happen, because wow, it literally blew me away.
And Dom, talk about the fumes. what your nose and your eyes experience.
Listen, if you've got a cold, go to a NHRA event, because your senses will be cleared almost instantly. But side effects are runny nose and watery eyes. Nitro's a real deal, man. Those fumes burn your nose and they get right into your eyes. So sunglasses kind of help, but yeah, the closer you get, the worse it is. But obviously, that is what comes with Nitro drag racing. But there's certain moments in my life that I'll remember forever. My first NASCAR race, the opening start in 2011 at Charlotte, just my introduction to what fast race cars look like in real life, hooked from the beginning. And then that first launch and the warm up, the burnout before the launch itself, that there's things that you remember as a racing fan that make you realize why you became a fan. And that was it for me. It's just like I was hooked immediately hooked. And I found myself watching NHRA videos the last couple of days, just watching highlights and stuff, just seeing, just because it's one of those, you need to get that sound back in your brain again. You need to hear those cars go again. And it is addictive. It's so cool. And they are, pardon the language, but they are badasses. The people who drive those cars.
Hey, that's fine language. We'll be fine with it here. But no, it's true. Like those who drive these cars, whether it's Top Fuel, Funny Car, whatever it is, I mean, they are in rocket ships. And you see it on TV, but you don't I don't think you fully process it until you're there and you feel the speed. My eyes, funny enough, didn't water. I know Allie, who was kind of helping bring us into this world this weekend for NHRA, shout out to Allie. She was like, if you wear contacts, your eyes might not water as bad. And I found that to be true. So that maybe it's pro tip for you guys in the future. But Allie, Nikki, Josh, AJ, all of them who helped us this weekend. AJ, for sure. He walked us around the track and in the pit stalls and things like that to really get us into the world of NHRA. He was literally our book of knowledge this weekend, and I cannot thank them enough for inviting us out and really welcoming us in with open arms. But yeah, how was it being around John Force in Charlotte? It was pretty cool. I mean, I got to see him signing autographs with fans and catching up with so many people on the grid. It was cool to see him. Cool to see Tony Stewart too. like we said, it was a totally different Tony. Like you felt it, you saw it, right?
Go ahead, Adam.
Yeah, that seeing Tony in that element, it's not the same guy. It's a completely different guy, but he's still got that hunger and drive to go as fast as anybody on the planet. So like, yeah, just seeing him in a different element of racing, but still wanting to be the best and just coming off of a win, it was really cool to see the afterglow still there. And then that he made the final round on Sunday was incredible too. Yeah, all four of those guys were deserving to be in the final, and just it took me back to when I was a kid, when I used to boo Tony Stewart, being a Jeff Gordon fan. That was like one of our rivals, but then to see that he's still doing it and he's still got it, that's what really amazed me, is that he still has that drive and that passion, and he still can get the job done.
I will say, so I have a story that I'm working on, some comments from Dale Jr., some comments from Tony Stewart, but even like Dale had mentioned, like, you know, he, after kind of running in a kind of drag truck, I'm going to call it, has a totally new appreciation for, you know, what Tony Stewart does, and was just kind of blown away by like, man, like, we all knew Tony was a versatile racer and driver, but like this is a whole new thing. And even Tony was like, it's totally different than anything I've ever done. It's a whole new skill set I had to learn. But the fact that he was able to win at Vegas and then go into the finals at Charlotte, one, shows that 4 wide is definitely his forte. And two is just, he's able to master practically any kind of racing. It is so impressive. But with NHRA coverage, obviously, like we'll keep following it, and we'll maybe trickle some of that conversation into here too. But Big Duke will be covering that from here on out on his show, just to let you guys know. There's going to be a little bit of a rebrand there, but he actually kind of comes from the world of drag racing himself. So he'll be covering that a little bit more in the future, bringing some drivers onto the show. But we're very excited. And again, grateful for the experience. Like Dom said, it gives you an appreciation. It opens your eyes, and you're hooked in an instant. So if you guys have the chance to go to an NHRA race, go. Your ticket also kind of acts as like a VIP pass, which is pretty incredible too. So there's definitely incentive to go. But
the accessibility that you get as a fan just with the normal ticket, it's like none other. It really, you can immerse yourself, like you can basically stand by a team trailer the entire weekend, and they won't say, hey, get out of here or anything, because you can just watch them work on the car. You can hear them fire up the engine and test. You can even say hey to the driver if they're not busy or anything. They're just kind of there out there. Come and say, hey, how are you? Thanks for coming out and supporting us. That's what I really enjoyed, was just the accessibility for fans who really want to get that full experience. It really drives home the, oh yeah, come on, let's go do this. This is gonna be cool. This is gonna be fun. Yeah, come take a look.
Well, Dom, was it Ron Capps in our interview that we did with him where he was like, it's so different than NASCAR because people are like touching my shoulder and they're like, that's Ron Capps right there. He's like, yeah, I'm Ron Capps and you can talk to me. Like, even he was talking about the differences he saw between when he's been able to go to a NASCAR race and what he's seen from that world versus like the world that he lives in practically every single weekend.
Yeah, you know, in NASCAR, especially on race day Sunday, you know, the teams and the track do everything they can to make the drivers accessible with Q&As. Whether it be the pre-race stage and whatnot, like they do their best. But when it comes to where the race cars are, the garage, that is like, okay, we're going to let you guys have all this area to hang out, and the drivers are going to come in and out. You'll get to see them, but they need to have this area to themselves. And this is very private. They need to work. This is where they work on their cars. We'll hand out a handful of VIP passes. Some people can come in and out of the garage, but that is not how the NHRA is. The NHRA is, if you buy a ticket, you can go wherever you want within reason. You can go right up to the cars. You can go right up to the haulers. You can say hey to Ron Capps. You can say hey to Bob Costa if they're just, or Bob Tasca, if they're just standing there by the car. If they're just hanging out, looking over some notes, if you say hey, they'll probably say hey back and come see if you want to take a picture and sign an autograph. So it is really cool to see how accessible it is. And I mean, that's just one thing that NHRA has going for it, that they've had going for them for many, many years.
Yes.
If you're coming to the races, we'll help you pick your favorite driver by bringing you right to them.
Yeah. Yep. it, like they're saying, it's very accessible. And I kind of described this in a video I did, and Ravaging Wolverine brings this up here. It reminded me of the accessibility of IndyCar races. It's particularly with me, my experience with IndyCar is at Mid-Ohio, where it's very much more relaxed than I would say a typical IndyCar race weekend is, especially with your street courses. But it is, the drivers just kind of walk around. They're chilling. You can walk up to them, say, hey, go on a conversation with them. Like, again, the accessibility that you have at these NHRA races and even to IndyCar races is great. I do understand that NHRA is a bit of a smaller sport than NASCAR, so you kind of have to organize them differently in terms of who does and who doesn't get access. But with that said, with NHRA's size and the stars that they've produced, I think it's incredible. So again, if you have not gone to an NHRA event and have the ability to do it, like it's definitely well worth it. We enjoyed our time, and we will definitely be back in the fall to cover the 4 wides and their version of the playoffs. It's not called the playoffs for them, but it's called the countdown. So we will be there hopefully then, and then maybe another race down the road too. We will see. But we'll close out our conversation on NHRA. But if you guys have any talking points, anything you want us to discuss from the world of motorsports, leave them in the chat using hashtag ATYL, and we will get to those. But we'll dive into some NASCAR news. So maybe we'll talk about some of the topics that you wanted us to discuss right now. But before we do that, hey guys, hats. We all love wearing hats, especially of our favorite drivers or teams. Maybe you like wearing a favorite t-shirt of a driver, and you should get them from Happy Hour Racing. Scan the QR code on your screen to go to their website, happyhourracing.com/ATYL, for officially licensed IndyCar, NASCAR, and Formula One merchandise. As we are getting into the month of May, wearing motorsports merchandise is more important than ever. You want to show your favorite driver support at some of the most important races in motorsports history, the Indy 500. The 600 is a crown jewel. I'm going to consider that very important. Obviously, Monaco is very important. So get your motorsports gear. And of course, this is the last day for our giveaway with Happy Hour Racing and Benzic Designs. If you sign up for the giveaway, you could win 3 of your choice 3D printed die-cast displays from Benzic Designs. So you want to make sure you enter this giveaway. Again, it ends today. So you have less than, I'm not good at math, but you have only a few hours left. So make sure to sign up for that. Again, scan the QR code on your screen. Also, all links are in the description below, or just go to abovethelowline.com/giveaway. Everything's on our website. Just go to our website. But all right, NASCAR news. Sorry, guys. All right, here we go. I think the first piece of news I want to touch on is going to be the Run What You Brung. Have you guys have heard about this, right? With Bozy kind of dropped the news or dropped the information last week. Teams, drivers kind of confirmed, yeah, NASCAR brought this to the table. So we're kind of in the know on this. Yeah? Yes? Yep. Okay. Yeah. So
I know enough.
And that's okay. That's okay.
I mean, not know anything.
That's okay. Well, the background of this is NASCAR had offered the teams the choice to do a Run What You Brung type of event for the All-Star race this year. It's an exhibition race, no points. Therefore, it's the perfect opportunity to test some things, etc. Right? The teams, or a majority of the teams at least, decided against this. Denny Hamlin on his podcast, Actions Detrimental, cited the cost it would take to do this for his team. One, citing that, hey, the chassis that we would use and manipulate the chassis to like try things different to hopefully help the Gen 7 car would be obsolete after one race. That's a crap ton of money just down the drain for one event, and cited some more reasons why too. But I thought it was very interesting. Now, if money wasn't an option, because Denny Hamlin also was like, hey, you know, we shouldn't be the ones paying for the development and research of the Gen 7 car. That should have been on NASCAR, which I don't know how we feel about that. Part of me agrees. Outside of the monetary stuff and outside of that, I really wish we were doing a Run What You Brung. I think it would be such a smart move to use that race on a short track where the Gen 7 car blatantly kind of sucks, for lack of a better word, to see what we can do to make it better. But I'm curious for you two and in the chat, your thoughts. Dom, I'll throw it to you first.
Well, they should have known this was coming when they went to a single sourced race car where the teams can't do anything with them. Mm-hmm. You know, because I don't know if people remember, but prior to 2022, every single race weekend was a Run What You Brung because the teams built the cars from the ground up. And then we would go from there in inspection and whatnot. So, yeah, no, it doesn't surprise me at all that this was turned down by the teams. This is This is them saying, NASCAR, this is your problem. You came to us with this car saying this was going to save us money, and now you're telling us to spend the money to fix your car. Makes total sense to me why they said no. Denny said it costs about $330,000 to get the next gen car before you can mess around with it. So you're already spending $330,000 for a $1 million payout race if you win. And 2311 Racing is a team of 3 cars. So they are going to spend money to lose money is essentially what they're talking about. And Hendrick Motorsports is a 4-car operation. They would make no money on it.
Right.
So all of these teams would say no right out of the gate because of that. Makes total sense to me. I'm just frustrated because we've gotten to this point, but honestly, it is what it is. There's really not much more to say. And it's just kind of getting frustrating that no matter what happens, NASCAR fans aren't going to be happy.
Adam, fair point.
Very fair, valid. 100% agree with what Dom has to say. I mean, it's very true. When you go to a single source supplier and it's mandated by the sanctioning body and they're telling you, okay, this is your opportunity to fix it. Yeah, you're going to be in the hole. I think it's terrible. Bad. I think it's finally come to the point where they realize, okay, this car needs some work. So hopefully this pushback by the teams opens up the eyes of the sanctioning body to realize, okay, we got to get our stuff together. We're losing fans because of this car. We have more not road courses, pardon me. We have tracks that traditionally are fan favorites that are snooze fest and bore fest. That's not good. That's not bringing in people. That's losing people. That's losing eyeballs you currently have who watch the first 15 laps, fall asleep, and wake up for maybe the last 30 lap run at Bristol. I'm guilty of that this year. That hurts me to say that because Bristol used to be one of the action races that you wanted to see. It was a must-see race, whether it was the spring day race or the fall night race. That was that action, boss. So yeah, I really think that maybe this could be a step in the right direction by the team saying no, but only time will tell.
Yeah, it's a tricky balance for sure. And I don't want to say I fully understand NASCAR's position here. And I don't want to say I fully understand the teams because I don't. We're not in those internal conversations. But I am in the belief that the teams should not have to pay for the shortcomings of the Gen 7 car in the single source part. However, to fix the issues, everyone's got to work together on this and come up with solutions. So again, it's going to be a talking point until there are changes made to this car.
I'll add one more thing to this.
Yeah.
Since it's the All-Star race, $1 million isn't that much money nowadays in this sport.
It's not.
Why don't we put our money where our mouth is and raise the stakes? $5 million instead of $1 million.
Should be $10 million.
10 million would
honestly,
be even
better.
Because the weekly purse is $11 million for every single race.
Make
aside
it 10.
from the big dogs, the crown jewels. The standard purse is $11 million. So
raise the stakes. Then teams could maybe say, okay, well, let's give it a shot for a one-off.
Give us a reason to want to win this race.
Yeah,
it's true. Or give us an incentive to maybe fix the cars or put in our own money to fix these cars. And maybe the incentive should be hopefully a better product going forward that gives good racing, less frustrating to the teams, the drivers, etc. But that's like an emotion you feel, right? It's not something physically in your hand that says, congratulations, the money you put in, here it's successful. So I don't know. It's a talking point that we will continue to mull over, and kind of goes into what we saw at Talladega too. I know we kind of skipped over Talladega a little bit in here, but Elton Sawyer's comments this week were a little frustrating to some fans, kind of saying, we had so many lead changes. I don't understand what we're trying to fix. Again, it's both sides are seeing it differently and are not willing to come together to just say, hey, either agree to disagree, let's work together, or I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I'd like to know what was wrong with the Talladega race.
Yeah. That's fair.
Because we champion Gen 4 races that most of the entire event was run single file up against the wall. No one made any passes.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
We have very short memories.
Well, and with that too, like towards the end of the Gen 6 era as well, like we were having just like the choo-choo train around the track, right? And everyone was pissed off with that. So it's true. We do have short memories. I think as we are getting in a younger and newer fan base that we are kind of part of in that sense. I know you two are lifelong fans almost. I'm a little newer to the scene as of 2016. But there are certain expectations that you have with the product, depending on the era that you join the sport in. And part of it, and I don't know if it's just because of media and how the race has been portrayed or how Talladega was portrayed to a younger generation of fan, but you see the wrecks, you see the thrills and the excitement. That's only in a 30-second commercial, right? We're seeing a over 2-hour race that is going to have a lot of lull and dull action in it. And I will say the end of Talladega, it wasn't a wreck fest for me, thank God, because I hate seeing junked equipment and potentially hurt drivers. Unfortunately, in the Xfinity race, we kind of had that. But we saw a very close side-by-side battle to the checkered flag, which I didn't see an issue with. But there is something to be said with some of the shortcomings of the Gen 7 car. But I don't think the race was as bad as people are saying. The good race poll for Jeff Gluck was like a 50%. Never thought we'd see that for Talladega, but here we are. So something's off, but is it the perception of the fans? Is it the car? Is it both?
I think the only downside to the current Talladega is the stages, because now you're forced to fuel save to get through the stages. And that just changes how you run Talladega as a whole instead of running flat out the entire race. I'm sure that has a lot to do with it.
I think that and the manufacturers also.
Yes.
Everybody, the Fords put together, the Chevys put together, Toyotas put together. That's ruining a lot of it. It's like, wow, you don't see Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney, who are buddies off the track. You don't see them going to the front, pushing each other. That's a complete no-no. You're going to lose your comp car because of that.
Right.
When the stakes are like that, it changes everybody's type of racing. Sorry, I don't know if that came up on my audio.
You're good.
But yeah, I think that it's not even just so much about the product on the track. It's the consequences off the track that also play factors into this type of racing. It's almost like you're racing afraid.
Yeah. I mean, Don brings up a good point with the stages. I did a TikTok video talking about that because I was like, if we didn't have stages, this would likely be better because we're not trying to, I guess, race for points or race for a certain point. You're just racing your fuel run and that's it. And then you can make of that as you will, right? And I think you go back to like the argument with the road courses where we're like, take away stages and it'll make it better. And then the fans were equally or more so disappointed with how that turned out. So we put stages back. Is it worth it to try it with super speedway racing? I don't know. But again, I don't want to see us changing the rules in the middle of the season if that becomes the magic solution. So I don't know. Again, thinking of solutions in NASCAR's case, if they're not wanting to change the car, then it's changing the way these races are run. And that part of it as maybe stages, maybe they look at that. But to your point too, we're never satisfied.
Yep.
We're never satisfied.
Nope. I wonder, Adam, you may know a little more on this. I wonder if bringing the ride height rule would change Talladega at all, or if it would just, because I'm just thinking of different things that we used to have that we don't have anymore. But a
lot of it has to do with that whole underbody that this current car has.
That's true.
Yeah.
That I don't think the ride height really would affect much. Yeah, I don't know.
I feel like once we got to the end of the Gen 6 era, though, they were starting to suck up to the car in front of them crazy.
Yeah.
Too.
You were able to get runs.
Yeah.
You could see a run building. You have no runs, no opportunities. Everybody's just stuck and glued together now at Dega. Daytona, there's more runs, but not as many as there used to be.
There's not as much real estate to work with in Daytona.
Right. I think Adam, and then we can move on. But you brought up a good point too of just like the drivers might be a little different too. The mentality, the OEMs, everyone working together. I remember asking Austin Cindric about that. I interviewed him on Racing America yesterday, kind of talking about that because he said something that brought it up, and I again can't remember his answer to save the life of me. So go check out that interview. But I did ask him, I'm like, is it just the car? Is it the drivers? Is it a bit of both? I do remember him saying it's a bit of both. He elaborated on that. But it's true that the driver mentality's changed. What's on the line has changed for them. A manufacturer allegiances seem to be a bit stronger, have more consequences if they're not followed. I know there's now the rule in the NASCAR rule book that says, hey, by the way, manufacturer manipulation, now it's going to cost you something. But you see these drivers have a bit more pressure outside of the car to kind of follow through on those things. You have frustration from teammates too, like Joey Logano, which I don't think we want to get into that. But you have him over the radio being frustrated. A lot of the times you don't hear that on the radio, but we did this weekend. Of course, Cindric and Logano talked that over and all things are fine moving forward. But you get more frustration, especially when it's close quarters and these cars just cannot do what we used to see them do. But again, to close it all out, NASCAR fans are never satisfied. They're trying to find a solution. The solution isn't being found. It's frustrating. We will continue to be frustrated until something changes, or maybe we just accept it and we enjoy what we have.
There is a very wonderful Colin Cowherd quote that describes NASCAR fans perfectly. No matter how many times I'm right, you'll still argue with me.
Yeah. Yeah. And on that note,
perfect segue.
Perfect segue. We will.
Speaking of not being right.
Yeah, speaking of, my goodness. There's a lot of other news that I have pulled up here. I don't really want to talk about that. Let's talk about that. This is all the Run What You Brung. This all sprung from the Run What You Brung race. Can you believe that? We got into a whole
tangent.
Argument. We got into a tangent, you guys, about the Run What You Brung. I do want to go through the comments real quick, just to make sure we didn't miss anything real quick. I know a lot of you guys, again, voicing, some of you agree with us, some of you don't. That's totally fine. We have maneuverability is gone at Talladega. That's from John. Dom, some people agree with you about the stages. We love that. Yeah,
I like
John.
what the bad guy just said.
Yeah.
It's valid.
It's valid.
It's very valid.
It's valid.
Goes back to my point.
Yeah.
The team orders Formula One this weekend at the
Yes.
Miami Grand Prix.
Hey. Multi-2-1, Seb.
My goodness. Yeah.
Is
it the Miami Grand Prix this weekend?
It is the Miami Grand Prix.
Oh my goodness, man. Not gonna be honest with you guys. Keeping track of the Formula One schedule and sometimes IndyCar schedule is hard, right? But IndyCar.
Yeah, we got IndyCar this weekend too.
Barber, let's go! I'm so excited.
Alabama roller coaster.
Nothing says the month of May like the Alabama Grand Prix.
Oh my goodness.
You know, I think it's Birmingham Grand Prix. Let's make sure our facts are right.
Yes.
This is Birmingham Grand Prix now.
Okay. Yeah.
Good.
Straight.
But it's still an Alabama roller coaster at that track.
This is true.
It is.
That track is one of my favorites.
It is a very good racetrack. Not even gonna lie.
It is a great track.
Race.
It should be a good weekend of racing. I'm very excited about it.
Very busy.
Honestly.
Very busy weekend.
Busy. Very busy. My goodness. But yeah, anytime IndyCar's back, I get very excited. And I'm like, this is going to be a good race week. And I can tell. I can feel it. So fingers crossed.
A good commercial.
All right. Are we going to complain more about the commercials here? Or are we adding in another point of complaint here?
Oh, no.
Oh, carry on. Just joking.
Hey, no, I mean, we could talk about that because my God.
Hey, at least IndyCar's at a racetrack this weekend.
This is true.
Yep.
We're going to get commercial comments in our comment section, and that's okay. We want to see your guys' comments. Where do I want to move to next, topic-wise? Because everything else that we have talking about has to do with the Run What You Brung, what NASCAR said, what Denny Hamlin said, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's a lot of negativity. I know we talked about the Ronnie Childers departure from Spire, the mutual departure. There is some more to that.
What a comment.
Oh, my God. Hold on. Before I get to that.
That is so...
You can complain about the commercials after a word from us.
That's a hook.
It's so good. Oh my gosh.
It's like the commercial within Talladega Nights. Yeah, we'll be right back.
Okay, so Ravaging Wolverine, you're getting a screenshot of that comment. And I'm going to post this later. That is so funny. Hold on, I got to screenshot this. But yeah, I mean, nothing's truer than that. Like, we can complain about the commercials right after a word from our sponsors.
I apologize for interrupting. Carry on, Taylor.
Hey, that's okay. Any comment that is gold, I want to know about. I want to see it. I want to hear it. So that's beautiful. All right. But with Ronnie Childers, we talked about this last week, but there is more that came out about the departure. For instance, this weekend, Justin Haley told the media that he had no clue that this was going to be a thing until after his Tuesday meeting. He thought they were like it was a normal Tuesday meeting, talking about the car, things like that, etc. And then after that meeting, he was informed that Ronnie would no longer be part of the team. Ronnie also clarified some of his comments that he made from his social media platforms, basically saying he doesn't know what's next. He's going to enjoy time with friends and family. He made it very, very clear that he still wants to be a crew chief in the Cup Series. The problem is there's no openings right now, right? There's nobody, knocking on the door for Ronnie Childers saying, hey, we'd love you to join our team. At least not that we know of, not that he knows of from what he's told us. But he wants to chase that 700th start for himself. He wants to chase these stats that put you into the Hall of Fame. I still think he's a Hall of Fame crew chief regardless, in my opinion, but he's not done yet. And that's something that he reiterated on Sirius XM NASCAR radio that I thought was important to kind of share and talk about. Could we see him potentially moving somewhere this season? Is there a driver crew chief pairing, I guess maybe I'll pose it this way, that we feel like is not working right now in the Cup Series where we could see maybe Ronnie stepping in and the team benefiting from that? Is there a potential? I'm not saying that any other crew chiefs are leaving. It's hypothetically, theory-wise, do we think Ronnie would be a good fit with somebody else? Because I have a thought, but
I think he would be. But I thought that's why he went to Spire.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, I know other things that happened there this season, why he's not there anymore. But, if you bring in a talent like Rodney, you want to use that talent. You're going to follow what he says and what his thought process, his theories, his playbook, essentially. You're going to use that to your advantage. Right. You're not going to say, oh, no, we're good. We don't need that. We just want you here to oversee what we're already doing. Mm-hmm. So that's where the confusion starts with me about why he's not with Spire anymore. If any team opens up this season, he would be number one to call. Do I think that's going to happen? I don't think it is. It would almost have to be a perfect storm moment for him to get onto a top Cup team that's in contention to win a championship. And most of the time, if you're a team that's competing for the championship, you're set. You're not firing your crew chief.
Mm-hmm. I think what this does, this is one of those rare instances where there is now I'll just put this in other sports terms. We have an all-pro that's a free agent right now. Mm-hmm. And every single team is now going to tighten the leash on their crew chiefs. And they are going to be examined even more finely because now there is someone that, you look at the super teams that can put the money out there because now Rodney's in a good position where he can ask, he can say, you're coming to me. Mm-hmm. This is what I want. But I think this is a really good chance for these teams to really take a deeper look at their driver crew chief pairing. And if they are seeing any sort of I just don't have confidence in this, they can bring in Ronnie Childers. He's a 2014 Cup champion, has so many wins with Kevin Harvick. Mm-hmm. Was that just the dream driver crew chief pairing? Maybe, and maybe it won't work anywhere else. But you still can't turn down that notebook that Childers has, and the knowledge that he has as a crew chief at the highest of high levels.
And even I believe I did see a quote here. I want to make sure I'm correct in this before I really expand on it. But, Ronnie did share that he had opportunities to latch onto organizations in a competition director's role, speaking of that notebook, going into the season, but he didn't feel his resume is NASCAR Hall of Fame worthy yet without those landmark, 40 wins on his resumes, the 700 starts thing. This was all from Racing America on SI, an article, and of course that interview that he did on Sirius XM. But he does have a notebook to be in that type of role. The question is, does he want to? And it appears no. He wants to be a crew chief. You guys have some really good suggestions in the comments of where he could benefit. My first thought was RFK Racing. Brad's season has been atrocious. He and Jeremy Bolins are going through it, but they're going through it together, trying to find a solution for their organization. Obviously, for me, Brad is always a favorite at Talladega. Of course, this weekend did not go according to plan for that team pretty early on in the running of everything. But if Brad and Jeremy aren't working out, again, a new pairing for this year, do you sub in somebody who's familiar with the Fords, familiar with, that body style, that type of, that manufacturer, I should say, and do you pair him with Brad? But then again, you kind of want to pair Rodney with somebody who's going to be in the sport for a little bit, is my thought process, at least, depending on how long Rodney wants to be here, which sounds like a long time. I don't know, but you also know that Rodney has worked with a veteran driver in Kevin Harvick for so many years through a championship, right? So it's an option. Somebody, the bad guy said Rodney with Chase Elliott would be a dream. I still am not in the mindset that Alan and Chase need to separate yet.
And even then, Hendrick isn't going to drop Alan.
No.
He's too good an asset.
Yes.
He's worth just about as much as Rodney is.
Agree. You see, Legacy could use him too. Legacy had a hot start to the season and just have kind of
use a little more than just Ronnie Childers.
They could use the sum of $40 million right now.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you want to learn more about that, Racing America on SI has a whole article about that stuff that's going on with Legacy right now. But we will move past that.
Segue, guys.
So just take a look at that if you're curious. But yeah, those are some good options. Would Gibbs consider Childers over Smalls? I don't think so. I don't know.
Nah, I don't see that happening.
I feel like it's going to be a team that's in dire straits. And
Yeah.
it's going to just make a change to make a change.
Right. And for me, those teams are Legacy and, surprisingly, this season, RFK. It didn't feel like they'd be as bad off as they were. It was going to be an awesome weekend for them with Ryan Preece with a P2 finish, and then, of course, got disqualified. Same with Joey Logano. Sorry, Dom. Getting disqualified at Talladega. But yeah, I don't think, I really do not think that pairing of Briscoe and Smalls is bad. I think Briscoe isn't he hasn't been performing as well as we kind of saw when they hit the ground running at Daytona, but I don't think that team is in danger. I actually think that he could have a really good weekend at Texas. It's a great track for Chase Briscoe. Of course, we know that's a great track for him in the Fords. We don't know if it's a great track for him in a Toyota yet. But if it's just more so the comfortability of the track, I think he'll be okay maybe this weekend to pick up some momentum, but that's just a thought from me.
They're just building that chemistry.
Yeah, that's the thing. And we'll go for it.
I think that's also what's happening with Keselowski and Bullins. I wouldn't write Bullins off just yet. They've had a lot of bad luck.
Well, they've worked together before, though, in the past, is where I give them less leeway.
Yeah, that was also a different body style too, a completely different car.
Yep.
So learn in this car, as we know, it's difficult, but if you figure it out, you're hot with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd still give Bullins. I'd still give him some time. I think it'll click. I think by the time we go back to Atlanta at the end of June, we might have a bullet on our hand.
Maybe. Yeah.
And I think, you speak on Texas and how Briscoe's going to do there, the all-star race aside, Toyota hasn't won at Texas since the fall of 2020. And it's been all Chevrolet since that race that Kyle Busch won. So I think it's going to be hard pressed for all of Toyota, not just Chase Briscoe.
That's fair.
But that said, Denny Hamlin did have a really good shot to win the race last year.
Mm-hmm. Bubba Wallace, past 2 years.
Hard racing with Chase Elliott, which, again, nothing happened between the two, just hard racing. But I'm sure a lot of Chase Elliott fans remember the battle going into turn 4. And Denny, hey, credit to Denny. He and waited to see if it would stick. And damn it, she didn't stick. But hey, it's okay to have that kind of racing. But that's another great story coming into this weekend. We're now a year out since Chase Elliott's last win.
Yeah.
And could this be his best chance to win this year?
Which is wild to think.
We've seen glimmers of good racing from him this year, but again, it's the same thing. The last handful of years, they're all playing second fiddle to the 5 car. How did Terry do it for so many years, being Jeff's teammate, Adam?
He got him in 96. That will say that. That was it.
But, hey, Jimmy Johnson said, "Hey, I got your back, Terry. Let me take care of this."
Yeah.
This is
I have horrible flashbacks to 2007 because of that.
All 7 of those were for Terry. Don't you ever forget it.
My God.
Yeah, our drive for 5, it was dead after 2002. Glimmers and hope here and there.
I just want Texas to have a good race.
I was about to
Agree.
say, watch Texas be one of the best races we've had this season.
It
'Cause
ended really well last year.
It
really
did.
was. It really was.
And I think about 2023 too. That was a thriller at the end too. With Wallace could have won it. It was a back and forth battle. Ultimately, it was the wrong lane choice for him. But still, like the past, I'm just gonna say with the Gen 7 car, period, the racing at Texas has been much better. Last year was pretty
Slowly
fun.
but surely.
Yeah,
Slowly but surely. You know,
Yep.
work in progress.
So there's some positivity, you guys. Look at that.
Hey, they can't all be Kansas. You know what I mean?
They can't all be. But yeah,
Can you tell I'm very excited to go back to Kansas next week?
I'm excited for you. I'm a bit jealous, not gonna lie. Oh, that'll
Yeah,
be so cool.
I'm jealous.
My goodness. Yeah, no, Texas, hopefully, fingers crossed, will be good. Let's talk about that race. Before we do, I mentioned, diecast
Texas,
stands.
you should get your Benzic Designs.
Yeah.
Hey, those things are hot.
Yeah, because, diecast, they're cool, right? A lot of you guys saw that the progressive diecast for Denny Hamlin's going to get made. Potentially, hopefully.
Is it?
It's coming soon on Lionel, is what they said. So you're going to
Maybe
need
like
some
Christmas
place
2026
to display that if and when it eventually comes out. And why not display them on your Benzic Designs diecast displays? Like, wouldn't that be just wonderful? By the way, if you scan the QR code that's like on your screen, literally right now, look at that. Look at that. You will get sent straight to the Benzic Designs store. Use the promo code ATYL 2025 for 20% off. Also, by the way, also a QR code on your screen. So many QR codes. Isn't that fun? There is a giveaway that you can enter where you could potentially win some of these diecast displays. It ends tonight, you guys. If you guys haven't entered it, you're running behind. You have to enter now to be able to win potentially some free displays in a partnership with Happy Hour Racing, of course. And scan the QR code if you just want to straight up just buy the 3D displays. They're literally the best thing ever, and I'm not even joking. They're great for displaying your diecast. So, all of that said, I will move on. Let's talk about Texas. It is a triple header weekend: truck, Xfinity, and Cup. For the Xfinity series, we do have some unfortunate news with that regarding Connor Zillich. Of course, as you all saw from last week, he was involved in a pretty gnarly incident at Talladega. He was able to leave the media center. Hello. He was able to get out of the car under his own power. He was checked and released from the infield care center. We got note today from Junior Motorsports Trackhouse Racing, which he is a development driver of, that he unfortunately will not be in the car this weekend due to a sustained injury from that Talladega incident to his lower back, and he will return as soon as he can. With that said, Kyle Larson will be in the number 88 at Junior Motorsports this weekend. So, one, hoping for the best for Connor Zillich as he recovers from this injury. That was a gnarly hit, so hopefully that recovery is quick, but he is not too quick to get back into the car. I want to make sure he's all good to go before that. But question with that, so how bad is Kyle Larson going to beat the field this weekend?
I think it'll be
wax
closer.
on, wax off.
I think it'll be closer, but
Closer, yeah.
Probably
because
closer.
I love the argument of letting the Cup drivers run Xfinity more, I want him to dominate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want him to remind them all that there's levels to this.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like we talked about this last time, but like, look at the guys that came out of the Busch series and the Nationwide series.
Yeah.
And like how good of drivers they are, or just how consistent drivers they are, because they lost to Kyle Busch every single week.
Lights a fire under your ass. It does.
Yes.
Losing to Kyle Busch builds character. Let him
It
race.
does.
Yeah.
I mean, and how gratifying is it to say, if you are able to beat Kyle out in a truck or Xfinity race, like you were able to go wheel to wheel with him and cross the checkered line. Whoa, hello. The checkered flag, first line, whatever it is.
You weren't wrong.
I wasn't wrong.
Correct.
That's okay. That's good. I
Yeah,
panicked for a second, and that's fine. But like, imagine how gratifying it is.
Line with checkers on it. That
And you
checks
can
out.
say, I panicked. It's fine. That you beat Kyle Busch in a race.
Listen,
you know what I mean?
Listen, Cale Gale can forever say he beat Kyle Busch in a one-on-one match.
Yeah.
He said, "I want to play you one-on-one," and he beat him.
Yep.
I mean, he can't.
It's like
Kyle
that.
Busch can't take that away from him.
Yeah, this is true. This is true.
Truck
But, I
series
mean,
legend.
Oh,
what a
great.
legend! What a guy!
The aliens have returned.
The
on my
aliens are
camera.
returning, and you know what? That's
Oh.
oh no!
Oh
No! Which, by the way, speaking of
Nanny,
Kyle
nanny.
Busch, for a
I'm
second,
back.
I've got to say he was a great guest on Door Bumper Clear this past week. Like
Mhm.
from his, I tweeted this, but from his broadcast booth appearance a few weeks ago to him being on Door Bumper Clear and offering great insight, great commentary, etc. Like, one, when he does retire, whenever that is, he should pursue a broadcasting career if he wants. I think we would all benefit and love that, whether you like Kyle Busch or not. His insight is invaluable, and he's so good in that role. And two, I think a Kyle Busch podcast would be really cool. I really want to just like start like a campaign for that because I think that'd be awesome. If he wants to, again, of course.
I think Denny and Kyle should share Actions Detrimental. It
They
should
should.
be on either side of the table.
This is true. This is true.
That'd be like pouring kerosene all over one of these microphones. It'd be
We
awesome.
call it the Monday meeting.
Yeah. Honestly, there you go. There you go. Podcast idea. The Monday meeting. This is true. But yeah, I mean,
It was
Kyle
a good run,
Larson.
Adam. We'll miss you.
Yeah. Shaky
It's a wild-
salute.
It's a wild trip, man.
Oh,
I'm here. I'm here for
we got
audio
you.
reasons.
We got you. We got you. You're good. You're good. You good. But yeah, no. So all this to say, Kyle Larson in the field this weekend in the Xfinity Series as Connor Zillich heels up.
I think the one big thing with that is after Texas, it's back-to-back weeks off for Xfinity.
Yes,
so he's
which
going to
is
get a full
great.
3-week recovery.
Mhm. That is great to know.
Yep.
Because yeah, it is this weekend, and then there's 2 off weeks for Xfinity. So we'll give him much needed time to rest. As we know, the Cup Series is not so lucky with 2 off weeks. I mean, you could say lucky, you could say thank God we have racing from here on out, but you know, it does get exhausting sometimes, but we love this sport. This is what we're here to do. But for the Cup Series, predictions, thoughts, other key storylines going into the weekend that we already didn't discuss that you guys are thinking about.
I think just the Chevrolet stranglehold at Texas is really interesting and it's really been Hendrick Motorsports led because you got Kyle Larson winning both the All-Star race and the fall race in 21, and then Chase Elliott winning 24, Byron 23. So, and then Tyler Reddick with RCR in 2022.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Chevrolet's got it figured out, especially with the next gen car. They're aside from Blaney's, if you want to call it an all-star win, that one's still very controversial.
Oh dear God!
I got the car sitting next to me.
But regardless, aside from that race, you know they're batting 1,000. So I think it'll be really interesting. Taylor, you've said it many times. Like Toyota is knocking on the door of beating them. They just can't put the full 400 miles together.
Yeah,
that's their Achilles heel. So I'd love to see if we get a change. I feel like I've seen some trends this year get shut down almost emphatically. So I feel like there's a chance that Toyota or Ford could come in and just thoroughly dominate this race weekend and just shock us all because it happens. We see these things happen. So I think the Chevy dominance there is interesting. And then how does Penske rebound from winning Talladega, but also their defending champion disqualified, and Ryan Blaney didn't really even get a chance to race.
No.
So while there was a positive, there's 2 pretty intense negatives there.
Oh yeah, and I think even too with Cindric, momentum is a powerful thing. Last year at Texas, he had a really good qualifying run, great practice speed. When the race happened, strategy and cautions fell the complete wrong way for that 2 team. And they suffered for what could have been a top 10 day, ultimately was definitely not. So again, we could see back-to-back good weekends for Cindric. I don't think he's going to win at Texas, so let me just be clear there. But at least a decent day altogether. We'll see if Penske can rebound.
Top 10's a good day.
It's a good day. It's a great day.
It's really good
For that car. Yeah.
I think I do think the Fords will struggle this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they haven't picked it up yet. Although Cindric did just win, and
Barry won Vegas.
Vegas. So I hope I'm wrong. For a certain driver, they need some luck, but I won't say their name. We know who it is.
We know who it is.
We know who it is.
But we'll leave you there. thoughts from Texas, things like that. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. On social media, all those things. But thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of ATYL Live with the crew. Of course, make sure to go to abovetheline.com for more information about who we are, what we do, all of our content. There were just new episodes of Track Limits and On Tour released literally within the past few hours for you Formula One and short track fans. Buddy did an excellent job with his coverage at Orange County this weekend, getting interviews from Ryan Newman, Dale Jr. If you want to hear those exclusive interviews, watch On Tour. He did an excellent job. So, of course, all new content all the time from us here at ATYL Media. But thank you all so much for tuning in. Of course, we couldn't do this without our great partners over here on brand, Benzic Designs, Happy Hour Racing, Go Locker Racing, and the Bright Mentality. Thank you all so much for all you do for us, and please support them as they support us. All of them linked in the description below. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Have a great race weekend, and we will chat with you all either later this week on our platform or next time on our live show next Wednesday. Thank you all so much, and until next time, from myself, Dom Joseph, and Adam Lucas, we will see you. Bye.